Welcome to the Oli and Danny Podcast. We're your hosts, a husband and wife team with 23 years of marriage, 2 amazing kids, and plenty of stories and wisdom to share. Every day we're here with fresh episodes tackling your letters and emails about love, relationships, and family life. From tough decisions to heartfelt dilemmas, we bring honest advice, relatable stories, and a touch of humor to help you navigate it all. So whether you're on a morning commute, taking a break, or winding down after a long day, tune in for your daily dose of real issues and real solutions. This is the Oli and Danny Podcast, where love, laughter, and life lessons come together. Welcome to the episode. So, we have another couple in trouble.
Yes, we do. And this one is really interesting. We've got John Smith writing in. He says, I'm really struggling in my relationship right now and don't know how to handle it. My girlfriend and I have been together for a little over 2 years. Things have been great. Things have always been great. We laugh together. We've got similar interests. And I've always felt like she loves me for who I am. But lately, I don't know if that's still true. A few months ago, she started getting really into fitness. At first, I was happy for her. She seemed excited about working out and eating healthy. And I was supportive because I want her to feel good about herself. But over time, it's gone from something she enjoys to something she's obsessed with. She's completely overhauled her diet. She's vegan now and wants me to become vegan as well. She's thrown out all the snacks I like and constantly criticizes me when I eat unhealthy food. Last week, I brought home a frozen pizza and she got so upset, saying, I'm trying to help you be healthier. Why don't you care about yourself? It's not just with the food. She started making comments about how I should work out more, be more active, like she is. I've always been comfortable with my body, but now I'm starting to feel self-conscious, like I'm not good enough for her anymore. I've tried to talk to her about how this makes me feel, but she says I'm being defensive and that she's only doing this because she loves me and wants me to be better. I don't think she sees how much pressure she's putting on me or how it's making me resent her. I love her, but I also feel like she's trying to change who I am. I don't know if I'm overreacting or if this is a sign we're just not compatible anymore. How do I get her to understand how this is affecting me without making it seem like I don't support her?
Yeah, this is a common one. You know, one person, they want to do something different. The other person wants to do something different, but someone is going to get dominant and eventually someone has to do what the other person wants. I know it's challenging, but it's something that we often expect when we're in a relationship. Now, I'm not necessarily agreeing with the idea that you should be pressured to go down the same dietary path that she's going down, but I do feel there is a expectation or obligation towards you to say that you need to support that journey. And that's probably where the whole idea of you have to do what I'm doing in order for me to have the fortitude to continue doing that specific thing. So I know it's challenging. For me, the best way to resolve this is to, one, sit down and say, okay, we have an issue. I'm not necessarily wanting to do what you're doing, but I realize how important it is to you. How can I support you in different ways around it as opposed to me doing exactly what you're doing? That's a good way to start. Again, there are other ways you could still maybe change your diet a little, because that's the other thing. If you've got one person who's trying to get fit, get healthier, then it has to be a compatibility thing, because naturally, if someone is going down a path and you're not wanting to follow, they can start to think that maybe you're just not compatible. Of course, I know how unreasonable that sounds on the surface, but it's just a fact of human existence. So it may be you start eating healthier snacks. So not necessarily getting rid of your snacks, but just to show your support, it might be handy for you to eat healthier snacks. So you get your snacks, she gets her sense of healthy. Another thing you could do is maybe try and find out how she feels about her ability to follow through with what she's doing. Maybe she is faltering. It's like when you join a new religion and then everyone's looking at you to see if you can keep up with the new rules, and often they're looking for you to fall over. It could be that she feels that this new thing is her new religion and ultimately she wants to succeed at it, and maybe she feels you're looking on the outside like she's going to fail. So for me, that's at least what I would start to consider, and this should hopefully help things, or at least open things up a little bit more.
So John Smith, Smith. Here's my viewpoint. From the letter, it sounds like you have been supportive of the journey so far, supportive of the health and fitness, which is really great. I think continue in that vein, obviously, but a conversation needs to be had. I think you need to call Jane aside, whatever you call her, honey, sugar, dumplings, whatever it is you call her. Have a chat, say to her, look, I'm being as supportive as I can be. Is there any way that you think I could be more supportive without changing who I am, without giving up the things that I like? Is there maybe some kind of caveat in there where we can say, okay, fine, I'll have the things I like, but maybe not when we're both sitting on the sofa trying to enjoy a movie, because obviously that's going to act as temptation for her. If you can make those kinds of compromises, that's really great. However, I'm never in support of giving up one's individuality completely in order to be in a relationship and in order to be supportive. At the end of the day, when two people decide to come together and bring their lives together, you have to bring your whole self, because if you don't, you're always going to feel as though some part of you is being left behind, and eventually that feeling is going to catch up with you, and you are, as you're experiencing now, going to resent the person for that. So I think in order to avoid that resentment growing or it becoming any more intense than it probably already is, you need to have that conversation. You guys need to figure out a way forward without you giving up who you are in favor of who she is trying to be. As Dad said, it could be because she feels like, I'm not as convicted about this thing as maybe I want to be. Maybe that's where you're getting the sense of her becoming obsessed with it, because people tend to do that. If they feel like they're not succeeding at something, then that can motivate them to ramp up the pressure and just throw everything at it. So it could be that she's feeling like, I'm not achieving as much as I thought I should be achieving on this fitness and vegan journey that I'm on, and she's worried that she might backtrack if somehow she becomes tempted by the frozen pizza or the snacks that you enjoy. So maybe compromise on where you have those snacks, or how you have them around her or whatever. But I wouldn't say give them up altogether if that's something that you want to do, because the resentment on your part is only going to grow, and that's not going to make for a great relationship.
There's also the question of context. I don't know why she's doing this. Maybe there's a good reason for it. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's something deeply personal. A good question that I would ask you is, did you have, I know there was an implication, or you implied that you had a really good time in the past and then there was this dramatic change. I think there's a question here about shared values. Did you ever know what shared values you had? Often there can be a recurring theme with conflicts. They tend to be centered around divergence in values. So maybe getting back to the big picture could be helpful, and that will be helpful for our Jane Smith as well, is to get back to the big picture and say, well, how important is veganism versus our established shared values and goals? So it's about redirecting sometimes the conversation from what's happening. Maybe it's boredom, maybe it's something like that, but I'm trying not to underplay it. And that's why I asked the question, why is she doing it? So sometimes the why is important. And if the why is so important that it somehow transcends your values, your shared values, then it might be something you would need to support. There are a lot of people who go through some huge life changes for the other person. They make sacrifices. They become someone different to help someone through something major. But I'm not saying that's the case now, but I lack that context. So I can't really say too much. But if this is a thing, then maybe that's a good starting point, is to maybe ask yourself, how important is this to the other person? Is it really important, or is it just boredom?
From the letter that was sent in, it says, I've tried to talk to her about how this makes me feel, but she says I'm being defensive and she's only doing this because she loves me and wants me to be better. That tells me that it's not necessarily a health issue on her part that's prompted her to change. If that was the deeper reason, then that would be a key part of the conversations you guys have, I'm assuming. If it's not for health reasons, it could be for superficial reasons, not superficial as in just skin deep, shallow sort of enough, as that word implies, but superficial in the sense of she cares about what she looks like. And that's perfectly okay. But I think this is the point at which you get to decide, are you happy with what you look like? And if you are happy with what you look like and you don't feel like you need necessarily to change your lifestyle in terms of your diet and exercise routine, but she needs to because she's unhappy with what she looks like and wants to improve that for herself, I think in that situation it's perfectly fine for you to say, look Jane, I'm happy with the way I look, I'm happy with the things I put into my body. If you're not happy with the things that you put into your body, I will be 100% supportive of you. I won't, for example, buy you snacks that are unhealthy for you. I won't take you out to restaurants that offer food that you're not into. I'm happy to have vegan food once a week or whatever in support of what you're doing. But to ask you to change everything about what you eat, I think that's a little bit extreme, and I think that's a conversation, even though I know you've had it already, you need to revisit. Maybe do it in a more structured, maybe be a little bit more constructive about the way you approach it. Sometimes when we approach things in an emotional fashion or immediately as something is said to us, it can seem like we're just firing back, and then that response may not be taken as seriously as we may have wanted it to be. So maybe pick a time when you're both relaxed, you've not had any conversations about food or exercise or anything like that recently, and then pick that moment to explain to her how you're feeling about the whole thing, what your perspective is, and be clear about what your perspective is.
I totally agree with everything that's said. This is all we have for you for this episode. Again, email us with any issues you might be having. The email is Oli and Danny Podcast 101 at gmail.com. We have the episodes on Substack, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you're listening. Remember to follow us and follow the podcast. Till the next episode, adios.
Ciao. See you in the next one.